And yes, it's that exciting time of year again when we have lots and lots of Super Rugby to talk about. And joining me to go through all the games, I have Ryan Nixon from the... oops, I just realised I've got to put my camera up twice. That's a bit silly. From the Tribe Sports app. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, pretty good. Excited to be getting into some rugby.
It is good. I mean, you obviously you've been doing your basketball and all your other sports that you do on your app, but yes, finally it is up with the proper code and time to dive into all of that. Then, so just so you all are aware, the Tribe Sports app is available obviously on all your wonderful smartphones, and we'll have commentary from all of the games this weekend, and also the lineups and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm using right now. So first game, Chiefs versus the Highlanders. The big news for me here was Ledger at 10. I mean, what is going on there?
Yeah, well, I guess the Chiefs have kind of been, they've had their hand forced, haven't they? With it's turned out Debrasini's got an abdominal strain. They lost Tian Falcon. D-Mac, obviously, they're looking at managing him throughout the season, so he's not there for week one. And I guess rather than going to...
Well, I've heard he's got an ankle niggle.
Well, that doesn't help either then. And I guess, that the other option was calling on Stephen Donald, and they've opted for the youngster with the experience on the bench. So, big call. I'm not sure how it'll go, because I think he'll have to do the goal kicking as well, so that's going to be some added pressure, and I think that could be an area that the Highlanders target.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn Ledger with the Blues last season playing centre. He plays in the centres for counties. I heard somebody suggest that he played a bit of 10 at under 20s, but again he was behind either Falcon or Smith at the national level. So yes, this is definitely a big ask for him there. Other than that, Brody Retallick is back, the big name in there. Brad Webber. Any other sort of names that jump out of you from that Chiefs side?
I think looking at the side in general, it looks like a team that if they're going to win this game, it's going to start up front. I think the pack looks pretty solid from sort of right across the board, with Retallick, with Nathan Harris. There's some strength there. Tyler Ardron at number 8. But there's a lot of inexperience in that back line, aside really from Weber and Anton Leonard-Brown. You're looking at guys like Ledger, Balin Sullivan on one wing, Etini Nanai-Saturo, who's a Super Rugby rookie on the other wing, and even someone like Sean Stevenson at fullback is a relative youngster still, even though he's played, compared to the rest, he's played a lot of games. But
yeah, no, I agree. And someone like Tyler Ardron, who you normally see in the row as well, means that there's plenty of bulk in that pack, isn't there?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to see that pack basically bashing it up. On the flip side of the Highlanders, I mean, I saw someone say that basically it was a gentleman's agreement between these two sides that they would both play rookie 10s, which I thought was a bit of a joke. But Josh Ioane gets the shout there after being with them last year as well.
Yeah, and I guess like looking at their pre-season games, he started both, so I think there was enough evidence there that he would start at 10. It's a bit of a three-way battle at the Highlanders for that 10 jersey. With Ioane is the guy that they've kind of developed behind Fletcher Smith and Lema Sopawanga. Both of those two are gone. They've brought in Bryn Gatlin. They've got Marty Banks back. I'd imagine throughout the season we'll see all three get a shot, but Josh Ioane gets first crack, and if he takes it, it could be his, for the season.
No, absolutely. I mean, we obviously have the headline of Ben Smith is there. Hemapo also with All Blacks experience, but in some ways, you look at the bench and go, actually, the bench is stronger than the starting 15. Ash Dixon, Daniel Anson, Brown, Tokiloha, Frizzell, Dylan Hunt, Aaron Smith, Bryn Gatland and Tomkinson on the bench there, they've got some good experience to come off in that second half.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it's actually a bit of a trend I think we've seen from a few of the New Zealand sides this week already, is that whether it's All Blacks, that they haven't been prepared to sort of throw straight into the into the mix without a pre-season game sort of coming off the bench. There are a lot of strong benches, and that's going to be a big asset for teams late in games to be able to call on guys with a lot of experience to come on and do their thing. So the Highlanders, that could be a huge weapon for them, especially with someone like Aaron Smith coming on, but also those sort of real impact guys like Shannon Frizzell, Dylan Hunt.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see the strength in this Highlanders side, where they've got lots of depth, is in their centres. And with Amanga Jensen and Rob Thompson, they've got a lovely centre partnership. Matt Feathers, and also someone who can play in the centres, is also there. I think we're going to see, those, along with Tavita Lee and Ben Smith, a lot of balls going up for those guys to chase with that really inexperienced back line from the Chiefs out there. Before I saw the lineups, I went with Chiefs because they're the home team. It was my prediction. I'm regressing that now. Which way are you leaning?
Yeah, actually, I was the same. I penciled in the Chiefs to start with, and I've switched it to the Highlanders after seeing the lineup. So I've got Highlanders by 6. So
there you go. I never changed once I made the decision. So and I'm sticking with that. But as I say, yeah, if I could change. We then head over to Australia for what's a really intriguing matchup, because you've got the Brumbies against what a lot of people are predicting to be a strong Rebels side who could top the table this season. First, looking at the Brumbies, it's good for them. James Slipper's come through a suspected injury, and leads actually a pretty Wallabies heavy or pretty strong pack there, with Faianga, Ala Alatoa, Arnold, Carter, Valentine, Pocock and McCaffrey. Or Valentine perhaps the least, one of the names we won't recognise as much as all the rest. But that's a pretty experienced pack there, isn't it?
Well, especially when they get to leave someone like Scott Seo on the bench. So, they've brought James Slipper in, and it gives them 3 really strong, props with Slipper, Seo and Ala Alatoa. A lot of strength up front, and I think that this game is a real clash between, a side that's got a lot of quality up front against a team that looks to have an electric backline, but maybe not quite as much experience, in the pack. So, interesting too, the Rebels beat the Brumbies twice last year, so there's a little bit of added incentive for the Brumbies to kind of flip that around. And starting at home, I imagine they'll be right up for this.
But the Brumbies beat the Rebels in pre-season. But then again, how much can you read into pre-season games? I mean, we say that about the Brumbies backline, but they've still got players like Tom Banks who came through to Wallabies last year, Tony Pulu, Henry Spate, Kieran Durrani. So the real question is, I mean, for me, Christian Leofano is more a 12 than a 10. And it's missing that general to lead them around the pitch and to run things for me. But yeah, that pack looks pretty good.
Yeah, I guess interesting call, because last year, Leo Leofano did play mostly at 12 with Wharenui Harawa at 10. But they've brought Ore Simone over from the Waratahs, and he's got that shot at 12. So, I guess, they see something in him, and perhaps he's the guy to give them a bit more go forward rather than having sort of 2 playmakers.
Yep. If you're looking for if you like your spines in your team, then the Rebels really have got that sewn up with Nazi Izarani, who was the Brumbies last year, wasn't he? Will Genia, Quade Cooper, and then you got Dane Hellett-Petty at fullback. I mean, there's definitely a nice spine there, but and with Meeks, Tom English, and Corabetti and Maddox, players that, as you say, that electric back line. But it's that forward pack that has had a lot of quite a few changes in the off season. and looking at them, I mean, people will recognise a few names, but there'll be a number of names there. They'll be scratching their head and going, "Wow, that's a new guy." So yeah, an inexperienced pack that needs to give these guys a platform. Otherwise, they're going to really struggle.
Yeah, interesting thing is that 4 of them have actually played for the Wallabies, but have only combined for 11 Test caps. So, you've got guys that have sort of been in the Wallabies system, but haven't been persevered with. Luke Jones is probably the interesting one. He was with the Rebels 2 seasons ago and has been to Bordeaux for 2 years. So to him come back, that could be a pretty useful signing for them in the second row. But I think other than probably Naisarani, it's a team that looks a bit short of X factor in the pack. It looks like a team of toilers, and against some of the better packs in this competition, I think they might struggle. And that's this first game is a real test of that. I think, to see where their pack's at.
Yeah, so I've decided that that packs win and backs decide by how many. Hence, I've gone for Brumbies by 5. I think it was. Which way are you leaning with this one?
Yeah, I went the Brumbies by 3, so I think it'll be close. I think home advantage tips them through in the end.
Yep. Then we up to Auckland for the Blues versus the Crusaders, and the hype train has been definitely sort of boiling there with Ma'a Nonu back, a new coaching setup, Auckland having won the Mitre 10 Cup. Looking at the side, do you see substance behind that hype train, or are we just, or is it all hype?
I think I think there is a little bit of substance there, and I think you talk about pre-season, how much does it matter? But last week they played the Hurricanes, and on paper I would have said the Hurricanes put out a much stronger side, jumped out to a 14-0 lead, and ended up losing despite a late rally. It's a real mixture of a team. There's some real sort of raw youngsters there, the likes of Tom Robinson and Josh Goodhue and Dalton Papali'i.
Well, you say that, but then Dalton Papali'i was called up to the All Blacks, wasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. So there's quality there. It's a lack of experience and a lack of. I guess it's part of this whole Blues thing, and that these derby games, they just don't know how to win them yet. So perhaps not having the experience, perhaps not having been in the record string of losses to New Zealand sides could be a benefit. These guys play with no fear. They're another side that's named a strong bench with 2 All Black props, Sonny Bill Williams, Augustine Pulu. So another side that can bring some impact on late if they can stay in the game through the first hour. And the Crusaders do have a bit of a habit of starting competitions slowly. So, if the Blues are going to ambush them, it's this week.
True. You've got the obviously players. Obviously, Dalton Papali'i with the on the fringe of the All Blacks. He'll be wanting to do well. Akira Ioane obviously has got some statements to make, but it's the fact that you've then got that Ruru, Trey Black, TJ Fiani, Ma'a Nonu, and it's how connected they're going to be because they've not had that much time together playing. They've had time together obviously in pre-season, but we'll see how that kind of works out. You say that the Crusaders start slowly. I'd say a Blackadder era Crusaders start slowly, but not a Razor Robinson one, because they've won their opening game the last 2 seasons. So looking at the side that Razor's putting out there, Moody and Franks, Barrett, Todd, Douglas, who's come back obviously, Tuafua. That's even if you are resting Whitelock and Taylor, that's a handy pack, isn't it?
Yeah. There's not many holes there. I guess you look at the weak spots, or it's not even a weakness, it's their less stronger spots, and it's the 3 positions where the All Blacks are being rested, Makalio, Strange and Douglas, but with the rest of the quality in the pack, those and those guys are still quality first-class footballers. So, there's not a lot of holes there.
I'm a bit surprised that Luke Romano still can't get himself in a starting 15. He seems to always be on the bench. I don't know if they see him as an impact player or what's going on there.
Yeah, I wonder too now whether teams are sort of looking to experience guys as being leaders in closing games. So you bring on a guy with a wealth of experience. He's getting a bit long in the tooth, so maybe can't last the 80. So bring him on that last 20, 25 minutes, whereas experience can actually be a real asset in shutting a game down or finishing it off. So, I certainly he's still a good footballer through the Mitre 10 Cup, but perhaps looking to his experience to help finish games rather than sort of use it through the first half or first 50 minutes.
Yeah, and obviously everyone will know Hall, Moanga, Crotty, Bridge, Havali and Matalehi. Interesting to see how Enor goes in that 13 jersey. I think he showed during, if I'm getting the right player, during Mitre 10 Cup, that he's got some serious wheels. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. I say Razor Robinson teams don't start slowly, and even with rested players, this is still a very strong side. Last year, the Crusaders showed they could do it with injured All Blacks. This time, it's resting them. I'm going All Black. I'm going All Blacks. No, I'm going Crusaders for this one. Yourself?
I've picked with the heart for this one, so I'm going Blues. Blues by 1. That's how confident I am. They snatched the thriller.
Dearie me. We then head across the ditch for the Tars versus the Hurricanes, and the Hurricanes were supposed to announce their side while we've been on air, so we might be able to get that for you. But first, looking at the Tars, Curly Beale through injury, there seems to be a bit of a theme through a lot of this that a lot of the sides are experienced, have injured players already. So he's out, and we've got Arona, and unfortunately the Waratahs decided that they'd use a video to show their lineup rather than actually listing it out in individual names, which is a beep. Apart from Beale, all of their sort of wallabies are available, I think.
Yeah, and I think the Tars are probably a team that's underperformed the last few seasons. I think they're a side that really needs to hit the ground running, and they don't have an easy first up game. There's a lot of quality there, a lot of international experience, and the pressure's going to be on the likes of Foley and Co to steer them around and direct this team. Carmichael Hunt coming in is an interesting signing. So, the quality that they have, you expect more from them. And I think, this year there's pressure on them.
There is, it's Carmichael Hunt, Rona, the Adam Ashley Cooper, Falau. I mean, it's another one of these ones that is an electric back line that if it clicks, they can really score points. And you've got players like Hooper, etc., and Ned Hannigan. Names that everyone will recognise in the forwards as well. It's not like suddenly the forwards haven't got any experience. So it's an all-round strong team that, if it clicks, I think can rack up quite a few points. And we've seen that the Hurricanes, you talk about teams that start slowly, the Hurricanes either start absolutely on fire or cold as ice. They got turned over by the Brumbies 3 seasons ago and by the Bulls last season, opening games, but really put the Sunwolves to the sword last year. I'm just going to see. Have you got their lineup?
Yeah, so I've got their lineup here. I'll just quickly run through it from fullback to front row. Geordie Barrett, Vince Ussell, Matt Proctor, Nani Lamapi, Ben Lamb, Fletcher Smith, TJ Perenara, Gareth Evans, Artie Savia, Reed Princep, Liam Mitchell, James Blackwell, Jeff Tumonga Allen, Ricky Riccatelli, Chris Eves. So not too many surprises there. Dane Cole's coming off the bench. Wes Hooson also on the bench. Otherwise, probably the only surprise I think maybe for me would be Liam Mitchell getting a start at lock ahead of Isaiah Walker-Leaweri. But otherwise, it looks a pretty much first string lineup from those that they've got available.
I didn't realise that Fafita wasn't available straight away, but anyway, obviously Bone Barrett also not available on the opening one. TJ Perinar's had a lot of good things to say about Fletcher Smith, his ability to kick off both feet, and he's been singing his praises in the press. And that back line, is just stacked with talent. They're all of sort of All Black level or All Black Sevens level. A little bit disappointed not to see Billy Proctor, who because there's been big reps on him, but I think they'll ease him into the season.
And I think they've got quite a lot of back depth, So if you start Billy Proctor, who you're leaving out, kind of question. It's a when you got Nani Lamapi and Vince Arso and Ben Lamb and Matt Proctor, they're spoilt for riches, aren't they? So that's the great thing about some of these New Zealand teams. It's like you leave guys out, you wonder how they get in the team, but then you leave another quality player out just to fit them in. So
yeah, and this is another one they are stacked in the backs. Unfortunately, they are a bit thin in the locks in the engine room. They've lost one of their players for the season already. So it does require, as you say, Mitchell or Walker Luahi. Is it? I'm sorry, I'm not.
Walker
Leawiri, thank you. To step up because they're going to. It's a great opportunity for those guys because they're going to get a lot more game time than they were expecting this season. As I say, I've gone Hurricanes, but I've got a funny feeling this one's going to be a big win for one of the two sides. I'm just not quite sure which one it is.
I've gone the Hurricanes as well. I think history would tell us that picking New Zealand teams where possible is gonna make you money, isn't it? But I'm not supremely confident about it.
Oh, absolutely. As far as picking, the picking rules are, if it's a New Zealand side playing and it's not the Blues, you pick them. But as I say, the Hurricanes did have come unstuck against the Bulls and the Brumbies in the first round of the season within the last 3 years. So, as I say, it's this one will have. I expect to have plenty of points in it. Following up on that, then the Sunwolves versus the Sharks. I don't think we've had the teams out for this one yet, but on the Sunwolves side, basically all the Japanese internationals are basically not available. So this is really going to be a Foreign Legion side, isn't it?
Yeah, and I guess they've got plenty to call from. There's sort of always been a sprinkling of foreigners in the team, and maybe we're going to see. Well, we're definitely going to see more of those guys starting this week.
It's going to have a very big New Zealand field because you're going to have players like Manu, Sam Prattley, from the Blues and the Chiefs. Sam Prattley from the Chiefs? Or was Blue? Anyway,
he was Blues originally.
I was going to say, yeah. Nathan Bella, Tom Rowe, Luke Thompson, Dan Pryor, Cara Pryor. Lots of Kiwi talent has been shipped in for the to cope, especially with these first 5 weeks. So it's pretty much it's going to be pretty much a kind of what I would think of as being kind of like a Highlanders side from maybe 5 years ago. All the players that the other Super Rugby franchises don't want.
Yeah, and I guess with the coaching influence that they've had over there with the likes of Joseph and Brown, it's no surprise that you kind of get the Highlanders cast-offs kind of make their way there and get the shoulder tap to come on over. So, and I guess we kind of write the Sunwolves off most of the time, but they have sprung a few surprises and generally against South African sides. So, I do recall them beating the Sharks. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but probably a banana skin for the Sharks.
Yeah, I mean, they knocked over the Bulls and the Stormers last season. Now this one's in Singapore, and they've shown when they beat the Stormers that was up in Hong Kong. So the Sunwolves have shown they can win these away home games, as it were. And as you say, the Sharks don't like travelling. Dupree is injured, or the fly half Dupree anyway is out. And on paper, this is a Sharks win all day. But the problem is the Sharks don't put on the pitch as good a side as they are on paper. On the whole, I think they're one of the sides for me that disappointed the most last year in a comparison. I have gone the Sharks because of, because they do have too much skill. But which way are you leaning, Ryan?
Yeah, I've got the Sharks as well, and I think if I was in a survivor pool or something of that kind of note, I'd be picking the Sharks. I think they're the banker for this week. I can't see them losing, but perhaps it's not as big a win as some people might suggest.
There's just a quick question in the live chat there. Has Ronan Nagara come back to the Northern Hemisphere yet? I assume so. It's his job, so his job is to coach the Crusaders, so he should be back, just like all the other coaches. Then we head off. We've got the Bulls versus the Stormers in South Africa, and I think I saw we've got the Bulls lineup. I think, haven't we already, for this one? Sort of question mark around the Bulls for me is it's another new coach. Is it another transition year for the Bulls, or can they actually get a sort of game plan on the pitch?
Yeah, these are another two sides that did play each other in pre-season. So the Stormers got up in that one 33-28, but in Pretoria. I'm not sure if Cape Town. It was in Cape Town as part of Wahida. I have a sneaky feeling that the Bulls might be a surprise this year. If I was tipping a team to kind of surprise everyone and maybe challenge for the playoffs when people aren't suspecting, I think they'd be the team that I'd be looking at. I think they're another team that's just got too much quality across the park to continue to underperform. So I think at home they really need to win first up, make Loftus the kind of fortress it historically was. I'd be disappointed if they lost.
Same here, I think, and then especially at altitude. So you've got Schalk Brits who tried to retire but hasn't been able to. Vermeulen, Papier, Pollard through to Warren Gallant as your spine. So that's a decent spine. When you hang players like Ludy Jaeger, Jesse Creel off that, Speckman as well on that wing. They can play. The question is going to be perhaps when that bench comes off, because they've gone the other way. There's not many names on that bench that I know all about, to be honest. And it's going to be maintaining their shape when that bench comes on. I think it's going to be a key factor for them. The Stormers, so we haven't seen their side yet. But for me, the big thing is, can they cope with all of the off-field distractions that are happening at the moment in the politics that's happening? It's an absolute mess off the pitch. So they could fall apart very quickly because of that if they get distracted by all of that that's going on, and wondering if they're going to have their wages paid, etc. Because it could head down that route. Looking at the mess that the Western Province is, so I've gone Bulls for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're probably another side that, up front, I don't see a lot of quality there. They've got some electric backs, and you'll no doubt we'll see a couple of high-scoring games, as we always tend to see with the Stormers, with the likes of Lades and Willems that can run riot. But I think that type 5 might be a bit of a weakness for them. I've gone with the Bulls as well.
And then we finish off with the Jaguares versus the Lions. This, if you go on history, this game has been played 7 times. The Jaguares have won 3 in Argentina, and the Lions have won 4 in South Africa. There's been no away wins in this one yet. But unlike the first couple, the Lions have named a pretty strong side to go over there with. They're not resting the players like Malcolm Marks, you've got Schumann, Warren Whiteley, Yanchis, Dante, Leon Mappe, Kawetsi. I mean, that's a first string side they've sent over, isn't it?
Yeah, I think basically the only guys, they are missing a couple of guys. The Quagga Smith's out with a calf injury, Ross Cronje, there's a couple of others. I think one of their locks is absent as well. But otherwise, those are enforced absences, whereas in the past, they have they've almost punted this game for some seasons. The one where they stayed home and prepared for the semi-finals and ended up probably costing themselves the home final. So this year, first up, send a pretty much full string side across. This could be their chance to overturn that away record in Argentina.
Yeah, and they've lost a couple of players to Gloucester, as they seem to every year. Now that Ackerman's up there, obviously, and to me it just feels like their squad probably peaked a couple of years ago, and it's just been chipped away at as players kind of leave. So not quite the strength they were before. Jaguares, we haven't seen their lineup yet, but they are, and they have a new coach. My big question mark has been that Sanchez has left. So do they have a pivot that can really drive this team around? But from the noises out of Argentina are that the coach and the pivots that he's brought in, or the 10s he's brought in, have worked together quite a lot, and they'll know his systems down pat. So maybe not as disruptive as I initially thought.
They also have a new logo this year. So
oh, really?
It looks horrible, but it is a new logo. So I'm not sure how that impacts their on-field performance, but we'll see.
Well, if you listen to the Egg Chasers podcast, they've been referred to these guys as the Playboys, and that they like to look good. Maybe that's going to be the killer. Then is the fact they've got a logo they don't like. I've decided that I'm going with history, and I've gone with Jaguares. Which way are you leaning?
I have gone with the Lions, but I haven't locked it in yet. I think I'll have a look at the Jaguares side and make my decision then. But for now, I've gone with the away team to carry on their form from the last two seasons and overturn that away record.
Cool. Well, that's that. We've gone through all of the games. Don't forget that you can get one of these hats if you would like by going to patreon.com and joining the Bucket Hat Club. And also you'll be supporting me to produce all of this stuff, because we'll be going live on basically at least 5 nights a week with Super Rugby coverage. So if you like your Super Rugby, keep it right here. And don't forget that if you're on the move, that the Tribe Sports app has coverage of all the Super Rugby games, and all the lineups are there for you. Anything, Ryan? How can people have a quick chat with you on the old interwebs?
Yeah, you can follow me at New York Nixon on Twitter. Always keen for a bit of sporting debate where possible, and not just rugby, but a wide range of sports. And make sure you download Tribe Sports app. We got expanded our rugby coverage this year, so we're now covering all the sevens as well. Live commentary of the Super Rugby and starting to add a bit more commentary of the European leagues as well. So if you can't watch the games, follow along on Tribe.
And also Major League Rugby. Don't forget that up in the States.
Aiming